Actually, Jordan, you got to mute people. All right, Awesemo, here we go. It's your old pal Emac coming to you on a Sunday night. I am joined once again by Terry McBride and Nick Lepre as we get ready to break down the Kansas City Chiefs, the Denver Broncos, a little Sunday night showdown. We're coming off a day where literally all of the chalk hit. Everything, except perhaps maybe Jamal Williams. I did not get the memo, so I did not play Chris Godwin in cash. That turned out to be a bit of a mistake, and I'm barely losing because I played Madison, and it seems like most people on DK didn't play Madison in cash, or at least the other notable industry people that I like to pick up their games to see what they're doing. And they had Gibson as their running back, and Williams, and I had Madison and Connor. So I thought I was looking pretty good there, and then I had Devontae Parker, but they had Godwin in there. They're getting me now with Gibson. So we've all scored 165 or more points. The chalk hit everywhere. All right. So when the chalk hits, when the chalk hits like this, Nick, now they hardly have for almost the entire season. How does it feel on a day like today? It just doesn't seem that fun. Everything went right, but you still didn't win.
Yeah, exactly. I thought everything was going to go wrong once Jamal Williams started playing bad, and then all the chalk started hitting, and it went even farther south. So you hate to see that.
Yeah, it wasn't that fun. Unless, of course, your name is Adam Ship My Money Sharer, who I believe shipped a $100,000 top prize on the early slate over there on DraftKings. I believe it was Whistles Go Woo was second. You might have seen Whistles Go Woo here on the contrary as one of the special guests a couple of weeks back. He and Alex and Big T are also in some DraftKings, some sort of guerrilla marketing where beat the champ or something, be the champ. I don't know exactly what it is.
Is he the guy with like that huge server in his basement that he said was his brain, or is that the other guy?
That's Whistle Goes Woo. Yes.
I love that guy then.
That's a good episode.
Funny.
Yeah.
That's a great show when we've got those guests on. You get some really good discussion going with those guys.
Absolutely. A lot of those are fun. You can even listen to them Sunday or the next day, because about half the show ends up being strategy and not it's how you can apply things to different slates, which is what we like to do here. But don't worry, we're going to get into all this. We still have an hour and 2 minutes until kickoff. We're just waiting for some people to collect as we get going here. So please do hit that like button. We would appreciate it. We're crested over 67,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. We could not be doing this show without you. Well over 1,200 likes on the morning show. We ran for over an hour with 4,000 concurrent viewers. These are just amazing numbers. Thank you for everybody that's jumping in and having some fun here. We, of course, will build some lineups here for all you guys. We'll talk through the strategy, and that's how we get most of our analysis done. We'll hit on anything else as we get through. There's lots to talk about tonight. There's a nice variety of players. There's some storylines. There's some what have yous and what fors, et cetera, et cetera. It should be a good one. Terry, the two important things that we saw is Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be active. He's been dealing with an illness. And if you guys go look at my timeline, you'll see I tweeted out this exact same thing happened last year, December 6th, week 13, just so happened to be in Kansas City. They were taking on the Denver Broncos. Talk about deja vu. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire was active and did not play. He just stood on the sidelines. So I don't think that is going to be the case tonight. But we have seen this movie before. Terry, I never knew you worked at a video store. Really? I heard that on one of your shows the other day. I never knew that. So how do you think this is all happenstance? Because you've seen more movies than anybody in history, I'm sure.
That could be true. I'm at least on the list. I've got a high salary if that's our DFS game of choice. I can speak today. Yeah, I don't know how that never came up that I worked at a video store. I talk about it all the time. It was actually in the same town where Kevin Smith grew up and where his video store is. I was at a different one about 2-3 miles away.
So you were the off-brand of Clerks.
Technically, he was like the independent video store, and I worked at a chain. I worked at a national video that became a West Coast video in our later years. So we were the second banana chain behind Blockbuster.
Gotcha. So how any worries about this Clyde Edwards-Helaire stuff? I think.
No fantasy insight of any kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go back to, thinking, all right, it happened last year. There's, it could come up again this year where he's not going to play. I'm going to assume, unless we get some kind of specific news about limitation, if he's suiting up, we can probably figure that he's going to be at least getting a majority of the snaps that he normally would have, right? Maybe he takes a couple extra plays off, but it's not something I'm going to sweat.
Yeah, and I don't think we ought to either. It's just funny that it came up this coincidentally.
Well, that threw me. Like I told you before the show, I thought that was some kind of thing that you had created that like predicting today's news. I was like, what the hell am I looking at? I have no idea.
Yeah, that was just interesting in and of itself. So, Nick, the question for you is: are you aware of Andy Reid's success coming out of bye weeks?
I'm quite aware, but I've never been into a movie store. I'm too young for that. I'm only kidding, obviously. I was alive when Blockbuster was in its heyday. I was like 6 years old.
I was about to
which section of the store were you most frequently renting from, and why were there cartoon characters on the covers?
There was also some nice curtains that you could walk through too.
All right. So Andy Reid coming out of bye weeks. Let me get up to my notes here. Please let them say they kept it. Yep. So Andy Reid is 19-3 during the regular season coming out of bye weeks. If we look at the playoffs, where clearly there'll be bye weeks because he's got a good team or what have you to get that first round bye, but that also means they're playing playoff caliber teams. He's 7-3. So overall, he's 26-3 when he's or 26-6 when he's had an extra week to prepare for their opponent. Tonight, we've got Pat Mahomes out here. Now, the last time we talked about him on the Sunday night show, he had a phenomenal game against the Raiders, over 400 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. In the other 4 games around that, he has 2 total touchdowns. He is averaging about 226 yards in those other games. The passing volume has been there. He's throwing 39.3 pass attempts per game. And Nick, the other thing that's interesting, because we're going to start out here over at Yahoo. I'm going to shake it up and let you start Yahoo today and let Terry start DraftKings just to have some fun, because it is week 13, right? And that's when everything gets turned on its side. So you've got Mahomes out there that's just been phenomenal to start the season, but he's just been in the doldrums now. So I think a combination of lackluster offensive line play or shaky offensive line play. I think his admittedly, he has said, I won't take the short passes. I have the talent. I think I can make those mid-range and long throws. So that's why he's not getting nearly as many completions. He's getting a few more interceptions than he does normally. He's already had more this year than almost any other time for a full season. And then his skill position players are a year older, be with Tyreek Hill and with Kelsey. And then the lackluster, I guess, applies to the running game. So what are we doing with Patrick Mahomes? Is he going to be our captain, our MVP, our superstar? You're going to build us or lead us through a FanDuel tonight.
Oh, I thought you said Yahoo. I clicked on the wrong thing.
Sorry. I meant FanDuel.
You just broke my ankles. I'll pull up FanDuel right now.
That was the old guy, fake right, go left. Yeah, that's the one basketball move I still have.
Just shattered my ankles as I was on Yahoo pulling it up, but it's okay. So here, I think since we're probably going to go with Patrick Mahomes at least once in the captain spot, I want to go ahead and play Travis Kelce tonight. I think that Travis Kelce has been pretty hit or miss all season long. I know if you're talking about redraft and you draft him in the first round, you're probably not super excited about it. But in terms of DFS, I do like him tonight up against the Broncos. My only worry tonight is that I have a strong feeling that the Denver Broncos are going to somehow win, which made me want to go with Javonte Williams, but I'm not risky enough to do that. So we're going to go with Travis Kelce here.
Really? The potential bold call here. I like that. The going against the Andy Reid narrative. I laid 19-3. Did you not hear that part of it?
Yeah, 19-4 after today.
All right, Terry. So
do we know the collective record of those teams that they were playing coming out of the buys by any chance? I'm very curious about that now. I tried to give it a quick Google and I didn't find it.
That I don't know,
like the quality of opponent in those games.
It's going to stretch back to his Philadelphia days as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's a career spanning thing. I'm just curious. You get schedule happenstance baked in there a few times, and it could severely alter that. Like, I don't think they need to be coming out of an extra week of game planning to be able to beat this Broncos team, but it does help. There's no arguing that given a little bit of extra time, you come up with a few things. But I was just curious about that.
Yeah. No, I didn't have time. I was too busy going through deja vu. It's like I just kept reliving the same day over and over. All right, so we've got Travis Kelce up top here. Terry, where would you like to go next? We have a variety of ways we can go, literally every way.
Every different way. Which way? Those were weird movies. The Every Which Way But Loose, when Clint Eastwood traveling around with an orangutan. Anywho, Emac's the only one who has any idea what I'm talking about. I think it just makes sense to. There you go. I think it makes sense to just book the Mahomes and get the correlation here. You're getting to him in a flex spot, which is a little bit different than what he's going to be owned significantly in the flex position. Don't get me wrong, but he's a negative 1.8 leverage. It's not a terrible move in terms of where the field's going to be and how frequently it comes up optimal. So I think it just makes sense to drop him in here for FanDuel style. And I'll deviate from my normal aggressive tournament approach here for the opportunity to play Travis Kelce and Pat Mahomes together here.
All right, so I am going to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The main reason I like him on this site is he is, let's get back to his FanDuel pricing. He's only $1,000 more than Darrell Williams. When we get to DraftKings, we have an entirely different conversation there because Williams is just $2,000. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, let me get to my notes. He missed, about 3 or 4 weeks on the injured reserve. He came back last week, played about half the snaps. I think like one or two snaps above or below half. He ended up with double the workload though of Williams. Edwards-Helaire had 12 carries for 63 yards and a score, brought in 2 catches for 2 targets for another 13 yards. Williams did see 4 more snaps. But Williams only had 5 carries and 3 targets. Now that can change on a dime. We don't know what's going to happen. And it seemed like Williams was a little more favored and potentially done enough to kind of take that lead role. It looks like it's still probably a 50-50 split, but I'm okay when they're this close in price that I'll go with Edwards-Helaire because he should be starting. Jerick McKinnon is now on the injured reserve. He went on before the last game. He's got a hamstring issue. Michael Burton was the only other running back to see the field last week. We did not get to see Derek Gore, who's already mucked up one of the many primetime slates that Kansas City has been on. So that is the reasoning for me to go to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. All right, Nick, let's go back to you here. We've got 9,500 per player. We can look at Javonte Williams. We got Jerry Judy, the kickers, Tim Patrick, according to Joey Corman, one of our people behind the scenes doing marketing. He says it's going to be a Tim Patrick night, mark it down. So we'll have to see what happens there, but we've got a lot of options here. And Byron Pringle, of course, master of the primetime slates, is there as well.
Okay, so we're going to go with Javonte Williams. I did talk about him a little bit earlier, how I wanted to put him at the captain. Maybe we can do that on a different website, even though it's not my choice. I guess I should have just done it, but it is what it is. At the end of the day here, without Melvin Gordon, he just has the opportunity to dominate in this spot. The Chiefs defense has looked a little bit better up against the pass. They have 6 interceptions in the last 6 games, which is pretty solid, obviously. But last week up against the Chargers, we saw that Javonte Williams had 16 routes ran. He had 4 targets. He had 3 receptions. He had 111 total yards as well as a touchdown. He also got 14 carries in that game, 3 in the red zone. I think that without Melvin Gordon, we're going to be seeing a whole bunch of Javonte Williams. Now, they will probably use the backup running back. It's not just like it's going to be the Javonte Williams show 99% of the time, but I think he's going to see the lion's share carries here. And I think that this is finally what people wanted when obviously they drafted him out of UNC. They're going to finally get to see the Javonte Williams show. So I love him tonight. So he would be my pick.
All right. So talking about the backups there, we've got Andrew Beck, who is mostly a blocking back. Across 3 seasons, he's played 340 total snaps. He has 1 carry and 12 targets. Mike Boone is likely going to be the main backup. He's floated around the league for a while. We've seen him in this role. Minnesota, I know for sure he was there. Yeah. And then the other person is the undrafted rookie, Demaria Crockett. I forgot to pull up the actives. So I'm guessing he'll be active tonight just for another body. However, he has not gotten any offensive snaps since week 3. So someone is going to get carries. Awesemo, I believe is projecting Mike Boone for around 16 yards or so. So we're leaning towards him getting a couple, but it does look like it's going to be Javonte Williams' role. Now, everybody's going to notice that. They're going to see it. They're going to think the same thing. They're going to think Kansas City is the third worst rushing DVOA. We're going to be holding hands with a lot of people here. Fortunately, on this slate, there's a lot of different ways we can construct our lineups or make just little tweaks where we can end up on something different from where the rest of the field is. And because theoretically, Pat Mahomes is the quarterback that he is the quarterback, but theoretically that boosts their touchdown equity. We just haven't seen it that frequently or with consistency, shall we say. All right, Terry, we're going to go to you to close this out. We've got $8,500 left. That's in the Tim Patrick, the kickers, Noah Fant, Byron Pringle range of things.
Yeah, so there's a few different ways that we can go. And I was actually looking at, I had Tim Patrick in mind at 8,500 because while we were talking about Darrell Williams, I actually clicked on him just in my lineup build here, and he's at the same price as Javonte Williams across town. So I had him in there, and then I was looking for the KC wipeout with both running backs, and you could get Tim Patrick in there to get to the Denver side, which I think was just kind of an interesting construction. It ties in a little bit if you're expecting Darrell Williams to continue his volume in the passing game. There was a little bit of correlation with the Mahomes play. It kind of correlates to if you're not going to like Tyreek Hill or any of the wideouts, that it makes sense that, maybe both running backs get in the end zone for KC. And then I just liked Tim Patrick here. So since we went with Javonte Williams, I'm still going to take the Tim Patrick play. That gives us two players from the Broncos, a little bit more of an even build. It spends all our salary. It's probably a little chalky. Like, I feel like people will have this lineup. So I think for tournament play, for large field tournaments, we would want to make some changes here. But this is one that I think would probably play well in like a smaller field tournament, a 3 max, a 20 max, something like that. So I think it's the right pick here is just take Tim Patrick, spend all our salary.
All right, excellent. So I am going to go put that one in. I'm going to go find some small field tournaments here because, hey, that's where I would like this to go as well. I did it in the single entry, but on FanDuel, which I think is a lot of fun, and I am not fans with DraftKings right now. I'm not happy with them. Wow. So I'm exploring my other options here at the other sites. Of course, we're looking at Yahoo. I went back and looked at my Thanksgiving cards. I had a very nice Thanksgiving on Prize Picks. I had never circled back and looked at it. And I looked at my balance. I'm like, wait, what? I didn't make another deposit. Oh my God. I had two 10 into 50 cards that came home. Beautiful. So I was just like, nice. Oh, look at that. There's an extra $100 I wasn't expecting to find. So we'll talk Prize Picks in just a second here as well. But I do want to mention that if you use the promo code Awesemo when you sign up, you can get two things. One, you have the opportunity to get a deposit match up to $100 on prizepicks.com. So put in the promo code Awesemo when you make your first deposit, they'll match you up to $100. You put in 10, they'll give you 10. You put in 100, they're going to give you 100. You put in 200, they're still going to give you 100 because it's a $100 match. The other thing is you will also, we will be notified that you've come in, use the promo code Awesemo, and we will get you 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. We have just added that in the last week as an option for you. So a lot of people are saying, hey, I can't get it on Yahoo, or I can't get it on this. Well, if you haven't signed up for Prize Picks yet, now you're going to get a $100 deposit match. That money comes out of your account first when you're making your wagers, your cards, etc. And then you're going to get 30 free days of Awesemo free, all access Awesemo. Nothing wrong with that. So that is a pretty good deal. All right, we are moving. I'll put this in a 20-man and I'll put it in a 5-man. We'll see how that goes. But yes, DFS sites, I'm a free agent. So let's see what happens. Let's move on over.
There's account reps out there. Let's get this man some free entries. Let's get him some swag. Emac's going to be here in like, a Yahoo t-shirt next week, a DK hat. He's going to have like a FanDuel armband. It's going to be ridiculous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. We're going over to Yahoo here. Terry, I'm going to let you start off our Yahoo. Again, the difference on Yahoo between FanDuel is they do not have kickers, but they do have defense. Still get the 1.5 multiplier for the superstar position. Same, everything else applies the same as what it does for FanDuel, except their pricing's a little tricky because of the way it works. It's built off more like a season-long auction set of prices, but there are a lot of discount dandies, $12 and below today that we can look at. Patrick Mahomes is $35. Of the 5 showdown or 5 primetime slates that Kansas City has been on thus far, and I think they're on again in 2 weeks, This is the lowest his salary has been. Tyreek Hill is at 33, Bridgewater's at 27, Kelsey's at 27, Javonte is at 21, and then everybody's below that. So you can get 3 of those top 5 guys that I mentioned there on your lineup, and you can still start to maneuver differently with how you want to handle things. So Terry, the question is here, how do you feel about Patrick Mahomes, or is this another one where we take one of his pass catchers and hope that they get 2 touchdowns and Mahomes is really only throwing those 2 touchdowns?
So I'm just going to dive into our salary weighted top scoring column here on the top showdown plays tool. And I think that's a great place to go for Yahoo. We see Patrick Mahomes as just by far the raw top scoring potential guy on the board. And we kind of knew that, right? But when you adjust for salary, it becomes a little bit more clear just how starkly he is the top play on the board. So I think he just makes sense to book into a lot of shares of captain here, or a lot of shares at the superstar on Yahoo, and just get different in some of these other spots. And we see some strong numbers in the 2 to 5 scoring column for like Teddy Bridgewater, 65% to be one of the top 2 to 5. We know the opposing quarterback's going to be relevant here, but we can go through those picks and differentiate ourselves based on where we think these guys are going to be owned. So I'm comfortable just kind of being chalky with it and just taking Patrick Mahomes based on the fact that he's basically doubling up the field on that salary weighted top scoring column.
All right. J187 says $5 super chat. Right turn, Clyde.
Nice. Attaboy.
Oh, I can't believe the Black Widows. The Black Widows, their motorcycle gang in the
right.
Classic. Nick has no idea what we're talking about.
Nope. Your idea.
All right. We've got Nick, we're going to go to you here.
All righty.
Is this a spot where you want to go with Javonte Williams?
It is, but I also want to get my man, the chip himself, Byron Pringle, the king of the showdown slate. Last time they was on showdown slate up against the Raiders, he had a 56.2% snap share, ran 30 routes, 5 targets, 4 receptions, 46 yards, and a touchdown. So that sounds pretty good to me. He just always does good on the showdown slate. I don't know how to quantify that, but it's just true. So we're going to go ahead and play Mr. Byron Pringle at only $12. I thought he would be $10. Kind of shocking.
All right. So that's going to give us Mahomes and Pringle. Miss Unique in chat Miss Unique in chat has a question. She says, "What about Josh Gordon?" So this is no stone unturned, and he's someone that's in the conversation here on Yahoo because he's down there in the cheapy side of things. So this year, Tyreek Hill is not just boom or bust. He's got the volume. He has 11.1 targets per game, which is second in the league behind only Cooper Kupp. He's 4th with 8 touchdowns. He's 5th with 84.7 yards per game. Demarcus Robinson has 1 or 0 target in 3 of his last 4 games. The other one, he had 3. Mecole Hardman has 18 targets in that time frame. Pringle has chipped in with 9, although I think he missed a game in there. And then Josh Gordon. So Josh Gordon has been on the field in this stretch. In 3 of those 4 games, he's played 29 to 33 snaps. So he has been on the field. However, in those 4 games, he has a grand total of 4 targets. He has just 1 catch for 7 yards. So we're going to talk about him as potentially being one of our unders if it's still up there on price picks. There's and Demarcus Robinson is another one we're going to discuss. It seems like they have just sort of fallen just completely off the thing. They're on the field, but they are not getting any targets. And we now, as I mentioned, Mahomes is averaging over his last 5 games almost 45 pass attempts per game. And you saw how paltry those target numbers are. Well, it's because Hill and Kelsey are getting a ton. The running backs are getting some as well. And there's just really not that much left to trickle down there. So there's your in-depth thoughts on Gordon. And that's why we would rather look to Pringle in this situation, just because he is still getting targets. It's hard to tell. And on Yahoo, it's interesting because he's 12. Mecole Hardman is 11. That's a nice price for Hardman on 11. Now, Hardman has never really, I forget, we had some good numbers on one of our showdown sites with him. He's really never had a big game in his career, or he's only had 1. And if you go back and look, he just never really seems to put anything comes to fruition for him. But he is talented. He is going to get 3 or 4 targets tonight, and he's 11 on Yahoo. So I like that we're going to Pringle because he's just going to be a fraction of what Hardman is. So I feel comfortable with that. All right, I am going to I'm going to have some fun with this one. Let's go with Jerry Judy. So Jerry Judy injured his ankle in the opener, the season opener. He did not come back until I think it was week 8. So he missed almost 8 months, or probably months. That'd be a long time. He missed almost 8 weeks or 7 weeks, which is almost 2 months. So the interesting thing about him is he has really only played between 60 and 70% of the snaps since he's returned, but he has been getting on a route and a per snap proportion. His targets are more than Cortland Sutton, who is taking the biggest hit. He's gone from double-digit targets to pretty much 5 or less, 3 or less in a lot of the games. And we know that Teddy Two Gloves does not throw the ball downfield if he can help it. And then you've got Patrick, who's in the mix. You've got Noah Fant, who also sees a fair amount of targets, plus the running backs. So I like Jerry Judy because he can make things happen after the catch. If Cortland Sutton just had a good downfield passer, he would be like, a Mike Evans light is my take on that, but he doesn't. So that makes it a little tricky with Judy being healthy. Judy at $18 is a nice price. Sutton is at 14. I think he's in play, but we may only see 3 or 4 targets for him. So I'd like to go with Jerry Judy. Any thoughts you have on Judy? And you can make the next pick, Terry.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. A guy that we were kind of expecting to be their featured receiver coming into the season. And like you said, got injured, missed a lot of time there. I like seeing in week 12, they didn't pass the ball a ton. He ended up picking up 3 targets, but the 2 weeks before that, before their bye, he had gone from 4 weeks when he came back, 4 targets in week 8 when he came back, to 8 targets and 9 targets. He was their leading target guy in both of those weeks. And just, you like to see that increased volume week over week for a guy when he's coming back. And then it slipped back to 3, but the leading target share last week was 4 for Fant and 4 for Javonte Williams coming out of the ground game. So I definitely like that Judy call. I expect the passing volume to be up for KC today. They're going to need to throw the ball. We've got it at a game script adjusted, 63.2% passing for Denver. So pretty high in terms of our game script adjusted passing percentage numbers. So I like that spot. I like getting into that passing game a little bit. And if you didn't do it, I was probably gonna. So that leaves me, let's see, with Mahomes, Pringle, and Judy on the team, $27 per player. We can get pretty much anywhere we want. I tend to like the 2 quarterback builds, particularly when we go to an offbeat receiver with one of the plays. And I think Pringle was the right pick there. I like the A dot that we get with Pringle. I like the big play ability that we get with Pringle. So I think that was the right call to make there. Looking at the A dot, 13.1 yard average depth of target, second only to on the board to Cortland Sutton. And then if you want to count KJ Hamler and his 10 targets, we can. But Pringle, one of the deeper target guys available in the entire game. I think I'm going to go to the Teddy Bridgewater play here, though, and just I'm going to book the double quarterback. I've been chalky. I think I've made 3 picks and I've made 3 quarterback picks so far, but I kind of like this little build that we've got. And that leaves us $28. We can get anybody but Tyreek Hill, and we can get weird with it and leave some money on the table here and get to a differentiator with that last pick.
All right, Nick. So let's talk about a little differentiation here. Now we've got Travis Kelce, projected, of course, more than just about anybody on here except Javonte Williams. We can go with Javonte, leave $7 on the table. We have a perfectly functional lineup. I don't think a lot of people are going to leave $7 on the table. They would go bump Pringle up to something higher. We could go with Edwards-Helaire, although I'd rather consolidate that workload and take the chance that we're getting different enough there with Pringle. Or we could go with Kelce and again, coming full circle. Which of those 3 would you like?
Yeah, so when it comes to Kelce, he has 3 games straight of over 15 points. But if we're trying to be a little bit different, then I do think that the answer would be to go with Javonte Williams, since you'd be leaving $6 on the table, I believe, if my math is correct. And again, I have really talked up Javonte Williams, but I really do believe that without Melvin Gordon, this guy is going to be seeing a serious amount of carries. You said Mike Boone is his backup. I'm not worried at all about Mike Boone. I've seen Mike Boone play in Minnesota. He's just a glorified backup. So I think that Javonte Williams is going to see a bunch of touches here. And it's definitely interesting because we went with 3 Broncos and 2 Chiefs. And I think that not many people are going to look that way.
Absolutely. I gotta go look and see what. Okay, so Mike Boone's been in the league for 4 years. All 3 prior to this were in Minnesota. He's on his career. He's got 380 yards. He has not touched the ball. No, he's got 1 target. It looks, or 1 catch anyway this year for 3 yards. So nice. Exciting, enthralling. All right, well, let's save that one. And then we're going to go on over to DraftKings. So, oh my gosh, we got almost 1,000 people watching. Get us up to like 150 likes. That's just another 35. Come on, that's like a tenth of what they got on the earlier show today. And just to celebrate for that, I'll put in 10 $1 head-to-heads over there on the DraftKings lobby here. And then we will talk some prize picks as we maneuver our way around through all of this. I am going to start us off on Yahoo here, or pardon me, DraftKings here, and I am going to recommend that we take Tyreek Hill. So my notes say I've ranked him number 1. So we have 7 free articles on the homepage right now, 3 for sports wagering, 4 for DFS. You can check those out. I've got a Yahoo specific one up there. I also did a DraftKings FanDuel breakdown. Terry's done his leverage article. Matt Savoke has done a full in-depth deep dive into all of the data. And then there are 3 other articles covering player props and other wagers or bets that you can have on tonight. So that's our free content for tonight. You could spend an hour reading all of those. That's how much we're putting out there for everybody. So I said, sorry, Mahomes. Tonight we're going to be going with the Tyreek freaks. Got to go with Tyreek Hill tonight. I chalk donkey. I can't. What have you done for me lately, Tyreek? Or not Tyreek, Mahomes. What have you done for me lately? So we're going to go with Tyreek Hill. Nick, you can go next.
I get to go next. Oh, no, never mind. Patrick Mahomes only had like 8 points last week. It was the week before that against the Raiders where he went off. I was going to say, yeah, it was 2 weeks ago where he played really well. Okay.
Technically 3 coming out of the bye. So it's been forever.
Okay.
In DFS time, it's been forever.
So based upon me being on this live stream for the last however many weeks we've been doing this, I don't know if we start in week number 1. I know one thing, and that is that Terry knows about the correlation of getting a quarterback in your flex spot. Says it every week. Now, I don't have the exact same quotations that he has. I can't MLA cite this, but we're going with Patrick Mahomes here. The correlation is perfect. And Terry, you can take it here and explain why.
I like that a lot. That's something that we've seen just, throughout in our sampling, the 2-year database that we've got. Keep knocking into the microphone and this doesn't like it. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. So I was saying it's a 2-year database that we've been using from the last 2 seasons. And I don't know what's going on with my mic. I hope everybody can hear me.
No, you're all good.
Give me a high sign if you can't hear me, Jordan. But I'm going to keep on talking. And the thing we see most frequently in any kind of sample, regardless of what the game total is, regardless of what the point spread is that the quarterback in the flex spot is the most valuable player in the most valuable position, the one that comes up in the most frequent winning lineups. It's a skill player in the captain spot typically, and it's most frequently a pass catcher, and we've got that here. And then we want to book one or the other quarterback, strongly favoring correlation with a captain's skill player, a captain pass catcher, but not always. It's not mandatory to have that, and you see that because of the multiplier on the salary. Quarterbacks usually the most highly salaried players on the board. If you take that and you multiply it by 1.5, it limits your other lineup contribution. So there's a reason that we see it this way, but it does just typically work out that that's where you want your quarterbacks. I'm going to work on this microphone.
All right, Nick. So I'm assuming you're going to be looking at one of our quarterbacks here to get our second pick here. And I just want to let everybody know I did put the 10 $1 head-to-heads there in DK, username EMAC. Ooh. And you guys can take those. Enjoy. We'll get to Twisted Realities Gaming Super Chat in just a sec here, but what would you like to do here?
Yeah, so we have Tyreek Hill already, so Patrick Mahomes is the answer. That correlation.
All right, Mahomes, that didn't last long. We're back together. We're rejoined. All is good.
I feel like you can't play Hill without playing Patrick Mahomes. I feel like it's like a peanut butter and jelly, in a sandwich. That's them.
All right. So I
appreciate the clarification there on the peanut butter and jelly thing. I was confused. I had never heard those things together.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, pretty rare.
What are you talking about? In what context would those be together?
The only thing that I think of when you said that is peanut butter jelly time. There's an old internet meme that nobody remembers but me.
Oh, I remember that. Times. I was like 8 years old when that came out.
Oh boy. Well, good times. Good times. You know what is also good times? Daryl with 1L Williams. I'm going to put him into our lineup. He has $2,000 on DraftKings. That makes him an incredibly viable play. Even if we project him to get 10 opportunities tonight, it's in a high-powered offense. I like this. The Denver defense is middle of the road at best. Remember, they traded away who was it, Vontae Miller, and they're just not nearly as good as we are giving them credit for by the advanced metrics. They still have one of the better home field advantages at altitude, and a good crowd as well, but they're not a great defense like they once were. So I'm going to go with Darrell 1L Williams. Terry.
That's solid. That buys us a little bit of leverage in this lineup too. Looking at the DK board, 7.5, one of the higher leverage scores in the flex spot. He's going to be owned. He's going to be in about a quarter of lineups in the flex role, but we've got him coming up more frequently optimal than that. So I like that play a lot. I do still want to buy a little bit of additional leverage in here, though, I think, because we've got the super chalky Hill Mahomes combo as our first 2 picks there. I think we can maybe get Byron Pringle back here. He's cheap. He's easy to get to. He provides us a 6.1 leverage score. Another guy, he's going to be in about a 5th of all lineups, but coming up again more frequently optimal in that. He's optimal more than a quarter of the time. And he's one of the higher leverage guys on the board while coming in at lower just overall total ownership. So I think I want to go with that. I was actually considering taking a look at Mike Boone just because he comes so cheap, and I thought was going to be, he's very low owned. He's owned under 10%, but he's negatively leveraged at that point. He only comes up 3.2% optimal. So I'm not really into that. It's, maybe in a few shares as a tournament dart throw. He did come up before, and I did want to point out that when we saw him in his most featured, he started 2 games for Minnesota in 2019. Overall, he played in 16 games, carried the ball 49 times, put up 273 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's a 5.6 yards per rushing attempt. That's not bad. 5.3 yards per attempt for his career. He just hasn't seen a lot of opportunity. He can catch the ball a little bit out of the backfield. So I wouldn't totally sleep on him, but he's not a play that I want to go to here because he's not going to differentiate our lineup and he doesn't give us much upside. So I'm going to just go to the Pringle play here. I think it makes some sense, gets us hopefully a little bit further afield than maybe we started out this lineup.
All right. So we've got some interesting questions going on in chat there as well. So before we continue advancing, this is going to be a Teddy Bridgewater discussion kind of. So Twisted Reality Gaming says, if we look at Hardman's usage, recently he's getting less snap counts. He feels he might be a fade. Fading Hill is a little too bold for him. He thinks Bridgewater will be under 15 fantasy points tonight, and he's putting his $10 behind it so you guys can all see and hear his thoughts. And then the next question is from Diniz here, and they are asking, in a high dollar single entry tournament, your last man in, do you go with Bridgewater or Kelsey? So we're kind of looking at that decision point right now with where we are. We have 2 spots left. We can pretty much do anything we want there. The obvious build here would be to go Kelsey and then Javonte Williams, and we can tie with about 9 gazillion people by doing that. Another option would be to go Bridgewater, and then we could look at saying, okay, well, we'll take Bridgewater. We got no idea who he's going to throw the touchdowns to. He doesn't really do a lot with his legs. But what if we took his running back, Javonte Williams? That might be a little different, because anybody that's taking Bridgewater, or a lot of people that are taking Bridgewater, may be trying to assign one of his pass catchers to him. Good luck with that. Let's break that down real quick here. So let me go to this. So I said, aside from KJ Hamler, all the receivers are healthy. Of course, Bridgewater being under center, they have an artificial ceiling in place. Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick should be on the field for around 90% of the snaps. That's what they've done in 3 of the last 4 weeks, with Judy working in as the third receiver or spelling the other 2 60 to 70% of the time. In the last 5 games, Patrick has 22 targets, Sutton has 17, and in his 4 games, Judy has 24. In this time frame, Kendall Hinton is the only other receiver that has gotten a target, and he has 2. Noah Fant's also in here, and he's been interesting when healthy. In his games on either side of the Denver bye, he had 6 and 4 targets. And then Albert O. Somebody asked if we would try to pronounce that. I'm not feeling that bold tonight, but he's been on the field for around 40% of the snaps. Eric Salbert is typically a blocker. He has just 11 targets on 224 snaps this season. So aside from saying Sutton with the name, Judy with the name, we like Tim Patrick because Joey Corman told us to, I don't really think that any of these receivers are standing out enough, but I'm okay taking Bridgewater, and I'd be okay taking his running back so we don't land on that other chalky build with Kelsey. Do you guys agree on that one?
Boone.
See how I snuck in 2 picks for myself there.
I'm just saying Okwegbunam. That's all I got to say.
Oh,
I don't think that's how you say it, to be honest.
Is it not how you say it? That's how it looks on the page, man. I don't know. I've never heard it pronounced. I got to say, I guess I've not been watching enough the Denver games. Any idea? Anyone want to take a shot at it, Nick?
No, I don't know how to say it.
Pronounced. I'll look it up. Yeah, I like that call. I think Sutton's somewhat interesting there. If you're talking about the deep ball potential, just looking at a guy with a 15.5 ADOT, seeing a 9.06 yards per target. So if we're looking for that kind of a long ball, a deep ball threat, maybe not going to see the same volume as some of the other guys, but you only need that one connection for him to put up a decent score. And it's one where if we're booking him into a flex spot, we're not saying he's going to be the top scorer. We're just saying, hey, we might get that long catch. We might get that long touchdown from an offense that might not produce, all that much. So I don't mind that one if we want to go there.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's go that route. We don't have him on any of, we didn't put him on the other lineup, so we can look to him there. 24 minutes until kickoff. I did drop in those $10 head-to-heads. You guys can grab those, enjoy, have fun with them. We've got some prize picks here to talk about, and you guys have put it like I did do previously on the run sheet there for our different ones. So for those of you that are just in here, and we've got, oh my gosh, almost 1,200 of you. Thank you. Please hit that like button, man. We could get up to 250 real easy here, and that would be a nice feather in our cap, as well as a nice thing for all of you guys to do as we enter into this holiday season. So we've got prize picks here. So we've got the promo code Awesemo will get you a $100 deposit match on your first deposit. That will also trigger an email to us that will get an email back to you with a promo code of how you can get 30 days of Awesemo premium content for free for signing up under Prize Picks using that promo code Awesemo with your first deposit. So that's a nice double hit there of $190 value. Nothing wrong with that. And that those funds do come out first when you make your Prize Picks plays. They automatically, you don't even have to pick. They just come out of your account. So the nice thing about Prize Picks here is that we've got no sharks, no optimizers. You're going against their questions, so you don't have to get weird. And unlike prop betting or sports wagering sites, there's no biggerish, there's no fee on it. So how PrizePicks sort of handles that is they set their own lines. Now these are active lines, meaning they'll move. So if something changes, if things are too heavy or too low, or if they're lopsided, they'll start to adjust those lines. We see that a lot with their college football lines between midweek and when they get there on Saturday. Their running backs and receiver totals have changed, by as much as 30%. So you want to look at some of this stuff early where you can. So what we're going to do is we can build a player card here. You can do 3, 4, or 5 questions. If you do 3, you get 5x whatever your fee is. If you do 5, you can do what they call their super flex. You can do, if you get 3 right, you get some of your money back. If you get 4 right, you get I believe it's 1.25, and if you get all 5 right, you get 5x your value. Or you can go without the super flex and you can get 10x if you get all 5 right. So they have a variety of ways to do this. They have single game contests, they have second half contests, and they have on any given day, they have over a dozen sports out there. All the major sports, all sorts of esports, high live. We've seen the hot dog eating contest on there. They'll put up just about anything. And the other thing that they do that a lot of the sites that the wagering sites don't do is they have fantasy points as well. So if you don't like the actual statistical questions, you can go look at fantasy points and wager on that. It's full PPR for their football, and there's no yardage total bonuses. So it's a lot of fun. It's a different way at looking at things. And with that, $100 deposit bonus that you get, you could make $25 cards while you're figuring the whole thing out. That's a lot of reps. That's 3 or 4 weeks worth or showdown slates worth of doing stuff. So it's a lot of fun. They want you to try it out there. And a lot of times they'll do different fun promotions. Yesterday, they give a 25% boost to any winning college football lineups or cards that you had. We saw them give the Patrick Mahomes over half a passing yard as one of their ones. They had something fun like that on Thanksgiving. So they're constantly doing different promotions. Check it out. It's a lot of fun. All right. So I think we've hit on everything that we needed to talk about for the overarching analysis. Is there anything you want to add that you don't think we covered for Denver, Terry?
I don't think we answer that person's question about the Kelsey or Bridgewater last man in. I'm seeing a follow-up super chat that said we didn't actually answer that question.
Apologies. I would take Bridgewater.
High dollar DK last man in. I mean, it depends on what the rest of that lineup is, so it's a little bit difficult to say. But yeah, I think that makes sense. Get away from that ownership, just to make sure that we clean that up and answered that. Also, while you were doing the promo read for our great sponsor, Prize Picks, I'm going to pat myself on the back because I pulled up a pronunciation guide and I nailed that pronunciation. And Mr. Okwu, now I'm going to screw it up, but he's also got an excellent middle name, which I'm not even going to take a shot at now that I almost screwed up the last name. But that was how you pronounce his name. No additional thoughts on the rest of the slate, though.
All right. Anything that we missed for Denver or KC in your mind there, Nick? We talked about illnesses. We talked about bye week narratives.
Yeah, we didn't really talk too much about Fant. He's not a guy that I'm overwhelmingly interested in, if I'm being honest with you. But again, these tight ends, they love these showdown slates. But he hasn't really had a big game since week 6 up against the Raiders, where he had 11 targets, 9 receptions, a touchdown, 97 yards. I don't really see that in play this game because, again, I really do think that the key to success for the Denver Broncos in this game is to just run the ball a million times and hope you can tire out the Chiefs defense, because passing the ball is not going to work as well. So I'm not really loving Noah Fant, but I do think that he's someone to talk about. And then we also kind of brushed by Cortland Sutton, but he's also a guy that I've made like 15 DraftKings lineups. He's not in a single one of them because I genuinely have him on my fantasy team. The guy gets like 3 targets a week. And when Jerry Judy was out, he was so good. But now that Jerry Judy's back, there's just no seeing that. And Teddy Bridgewater is just not the quarterback for success in terms of Cortland Sutton. Like you said, this guy could be legitimately good if he had a better quarterback.
All right. I am just setting some lineups here. Let's go to the run sheet. So passing yards, relatively straightforward here. There's only a handful. Let me back up and say Prize Picks does a really good job on their showdown slates. Things are generally appropriate. So you can look at things in a variety of different ways. You can treat it sort of like a GPP in that you're telling a story. Now, we don't need to make any crazy picks because there's no point in that. There's no hero points in this. So you want to find the best picks that you can make. But you could say, don't take picks that are just going to be, opposite of each other. So don't take, Sutton and Patrick and Javonte Williams on the same card. Probably might want to look at Teddy Bridgewater or something like that. Or don't take things that aren't. I can't think of the right word. Synergistic.
Contradictory.
Don't do contradictory. Don't do contradictory. So Bridgewater is at 230.5. I took these an hour ago, so they may have changed a little bit. But they haven't been changing that much. Bridgewater's at 230.5 for passing yards. Awesemo has him at 248. I don't feel great enough on that, so that's kind of a stay away. Same thing for Mahomes at 277.5 or 284. Or 277 is Prize Picks, 284.5 is the Awesemo projection. I don't feel great about that. Do you guys have a lean one way or the other? Because this is how you can sort of build I think those are wrong. I want to go lower, and then I want to pick a running back, or I think those are wrong. I want to go higher. I better take one of the receivers as well. Do you guys feel strongly about either of these plays?
I mean, coming up basically coin flips in terms of where we've got them projected at the site, what those lines are. It's really difficult to jump on either one of these. Around 50-ish% in terms of the win rate. If you want to talk about the biggest win rate on the board as per Alex's projections, it would be the under on the Mahomes prop. No, excuse me. That's a different line. That's a 277. So that's going against the 290.5 line. So there's probably room 282 versus a 277. I'm going to reverse what I just said there on the Mahomes and say that the over is probably, given the Prize Picks line, the stronger play there, but it's probably not cresting that 60% mark with just, 5 yards to spare over the line. So it's not one I'd be overly enthusiastic about. That's a lot of work to do.
Yeah. I was going to say, for me, the Teddy Bridgewater under would be what I'd be looking at. In the last 5 games, he's only gotten over 230.5 yards once. And again, I really do think they're going to be running the ball a lot. So I would look to go with the under on Teddy Bridgewater.
All right. For the rushing yards, most everything is within 2 or 3 yards of each other. However, Patrick Mahomes, Prize Picks has him at 15.5. Awesemo has him at 24.5. That is a big number. It's kind of a stay away, but we like to look at the math. We like to figure out what's going to happen. Patrick Mahomes, after was it last year that he got what should have been a concussion and kept him out of the game, and he kept playing, and they basically said after that, please don't ever run again. And then they gave him $500 million. So he doesn't really run unless he has to. He's mobile, but he stays mobile within the pocket. He eludes tacklers. He makes the play. He extends the play, but he generally isn't going to go where he's going to get hit. So if it's a broken play or something's going on, he could get there. I just don't feel like that's not even his first or second priority if a play breaks down. His is to throw it across the field without looking and probably nail somebody in stride who's run on a hot route because the pocket
sidearm with his eyes closed.
Exactly right. So he's just not going to run. So even though that was mathematically the best one, to me that just feels like a bit of a stay away. Do you guys have a strong feel on that one? Because we've got a few here that we're going to recommend as plays, not to fear anybody.
It's what was the line? It was 24.
We have him at 24. They have him at 14 and a half. I think
14 and a half now.
I'll take the over on 14 and a half. He's averaging 21.6, 5.4 yards per attempt. He breaks off 3 at his rushing average per attempt, and we're good. I'll take the over on that.
Okay. Terry being the man's man here.
Ah.
What are you want to break the tie on this one, Nick?
Oh, I don't feel very confident in it, but we've seen him rush for 61 yards, over 30 yards multiple times on the season. But recently he has been not really all that mobile.
All right. A couple plays that we do like here. So getting to the receiving yards. No great shakes on a lot of these here. Tyreek Hill, they have at 76.5. He's averaging 87.5. That's about where we have him. Kelsey's at about 69. We have him at about 69. That's more of a Gronk play than anything else. You've got Jerry Judy, however, 47.5 was his prize picks number. Awesemo has him at 56. We know that this may be a little tough for some of the other algorithms, or maybe we're getting ahead of it a little bit because he missed so much of the season. I do like the over on that. How are you guys feeling about that one?
You can go, Terry.
Sorry,
I'll pick it up.
I'll designate next time.
No worries. I just wasn't looking at the screen, so I didn't know if Nick was about to say something. Looking at Judy for the season, in his limited action, he's seen 31 targets, 8.16 yards per target. So again, it's not like we're asking him to do a ton at what he does, but an 8.7 yards ADOT. So he's basically catching the ball where he is and not doing too much more after the catch. It's not a breakaway play. So maybe if it's an efficient-ish kind of a line, maybe we stay away from it. Looking over at Alex's board on that one, we can jump up and let's see on the receiving yards. Alex has that one. Yeah, that's another one that's basically a coin flip with where we've got him. It's a 49.5 line over there, but 53%. It's not like we're squeezing a lot of additional juice into that one. So I'm gonna stay away from that. I don't love that one.
All right. I want the over on that one. Another one that's Tim Patrick, 34.5 versus 44.5. I like the over on this one as well. I feel Patrick is a good complementary receiver there that can work the short to medium routes, where Sutton will probably go with medium to long, and Judy will probably go with kind of mid-range and the sideline routes, I think, or out of the slot. I think those that's a doable number. In my opinion, it means we're probably thinking he's going to get about 4 catches. That's right around where most of his projections are for his catch target. I think Awesemo has him at like 4.5. I believe Prize Picks has him at 4. So I like the over on that one.
Yeah,
for the receiving yards.
I would agree with you as well. All it really takes for Patrick to do that is like 2 or 3 catches. So if we project him to get maybe 4 targets, then I think he should be able to get done.
All right, Terry, let's see what we got here on our next one. Byron Pringle, 18.5 yards on Prize Picks. Awesemo loves him for 35. That's almost a double. Once you stop, or once you pop, you can't stop. You know it's Pringle. You know it's Showdown. Terry, are you going to put your hard-earned dollars behind it? This isn't a GPP play. This is you versus the raw numbers.
Yeah, that's got to be the top play on the board right now, I think. I mean, we're looking at on the site in our props tool, he's the top by expected win rate for an over on 22.5 yards. So if we can get him at 12.5, or excuse me, at 18.5, by Demarcus Robinson next to him at 12.5. At 18.5, where we're taking some off of that, that's going to vault him well into the well up over into the 75% range, 73, 75, somewhere in there probably. So I like that one a ton. That's going to be easy for him to get to on 2 receptions.
All right. Now the for Mecole Hardman, they have him at 18.5. We have him at 23. I think that's a stay away. Darrell Williams is at 13.5. We have him at 16.5. If you think something is amiss with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, then that would be a decent number for Williams. Demarcus Robinson, he's on here for a couple. 1.5 receptions or 12.5 yards. Basically, it's one and the same. He's getting about 1 target per game. Do you want to bet on him essentially getting a bagel here, Nick?
Yes, I would love to do that, if I'm being honest with you. I don't like Demarcus Robinson at all. So,
Terry, how are you
feeling?
Mecole
Hardman, sorry.
You want to root for the unders here, Terry?
I never like rooting for unders. It's just more fun to go for the overs and watch the guys actually rack up stats than rooting for guys to, not catch passes, Patrick Mahomes to be off on targeting guys. So I don't love going to that. Was it Hardman in the end that we're talking about here, or was it Demarcus Robinson? Which one
Robinson.
of these guys did we talk?
Yeah,
Robinson.
Oh, it was Robinson. My bad. Sorry.
Yeah. So Nick, do you want to clean up your end, and then I'll jump back in?
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, because I was reading Hardman's number, and then I looked at Robinson, and then I just had a brain freeze there. It is what it is. So yeah, Demarcus Robinson at 12.5. I would just go with the under again if we think that Byron Pringle is going to be that third kind of option in this game. Then I think that Demarcus Robinson may be kind of screwed out of luck there. So I think he could easily put a nice bagel, a zero, a donut, whatever you like to call it.
Yeah, and it's a situation where, maybe we're booking some of the other plays already, so we don't want to go to this kind of, to go back to what Emac was saying on the way in for prize picks. You want to tell a story that doesn't contradict with itself. And looking at Demarcus Robinson, no targets the last time out, 1 target 2 weeks before that, 1 target the week before that, with a 4 in between. So it's not like it's totally out of the clear blue sky that the idea that he would get no looks or maybe 1 look. And if we're looking at the receiving board, he's turned in, he's got an 11.1 ADOT. So they're coming up short of that. He's turned in 6.77 yards per target for the season. So it's not like he's guaranteed to catch the ball for 1. So maybe we need them to look his way 2 or 3 times for him to get to that. And I'm just not seeing it right now. So I'd be comfortable taking the under on that one as well.
All right, Terry, can you read the next one? I'm just going to upload my lineups real quick, and then I'll be right back in the captain's chair. But you are the captain now.
I love that you use the word read as if I have the run sheet open. And
I got it open. Don't worry. I got it open.
I put in a fair amount of work to
make
this.
One up. I mean,
you guys. Oh my!
I was going to make one up. I just, I always call myself out when I do things like that. But looking at the board, I mean, we mentioned Darrell Williams at 22.5 rush yards. Do you have interest in that, Nick? Do you think that's an interesting one? Given the idea that Edwards-Helaire is potentially sick, could potentially be a little bit limited, could easily see the little extra time on the sideline. Is that one that interests you?
Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is ill, not sick. Shout out to Lil Wayne. So Darrell Williams, I think, will be getting a decent amount of work here. Maybe obviously not like the lion's share of carries or something, but I do think he can definitely get it done. We saw him explode the last time we talked about this showdown slate. Obviously, that was without Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He had a really big game, but I think that is entirely possible if you're with this narrative that maybe he has a bit of a bellyache or maybe he's got a case of the shits like Lamar Jackson. So Darrell Williams, I'm definitely fine playing the over 22.5. Is it something that I'm overwhelmingly confident in? No, but if you're looking to kind of put something a little spicy together, I like Darrell Williams.
Makes sense. And then let's take a look over at the completions board. I think there's an interesting number on the board for Teddy Bridgewater at 21 pass completions. Mahomes at 24.5, I'm a little bit less excited about, but I think the Bridgewater one is at least worth some consideration there. What do you see in terms of Bridgewater at that mark, which is not an overly high number of completions, but a guy who's not completing a ton of passes per game? What do you think of that one?
Yeah. So would you be leaning with the over or the under on that one?
Oh, well, you were supposed to give me a minute to jump over to
Alex. Okay, I got you.
It's okay. I wanted to see. It looks like it's basically a coin flip on the board, and I just wanted to make sure that I had it in mind correctly. And it looks like we've got him projected at 22 and change, 22.29, which has it at basically a dead coin flip. So it's not one that I would really go to. I was just wondering if that was one where you were expecting heavier passing volume, because we do have them for a little bit of a boost in the potential passing volume in their offense, the game script adjusted passing volume.
Yeah, if you think that they're going to be down in this game passing a lot, then yeah, that would make a lot of sense. I mean, last week he only did have 18 attempts up against the Chargers, but you can discount that because he was hurt and then Drew Lock came into the game. I think that is entirely possible here going up against the Chiefs. I am pretty interested in that, actually. I do like the over.
Like that
Even though I don't think he's necessarily going to be like surgical throwing for 1,000,000 yards. You know, all he's got to do is throw some of those short passes that Teddy's known for.
Yeah, a couple dump outs. And if we're expecting something like that, maybe it makes sense to look at like Noah Fant in the receptions category, some of those shorter passes, some of those dump outs where he's not firing the ball down the field. Looking at Fant, 3.5 receptions is the line for Fant in that one. What do you think of that? Is that something that intrigues you?
Yeah, that is very interesting at only 3.5. You would think with how much people talk up Noah Fant in terms of being like this crazy athlete that he'd be seeing more targets every single game, but that just really has not been the case. He had 4 targets last week, 6 targets the week before. It's definitely close on, if it was maybe 3, I would be a little bit more comfortable with him getting, but yeah, 3.5, I'd kind of just look to stay away at that, to be honest. That seems like such a sharp line if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's nice and tidy. And if we were getting the volume that we got in, weeks 4, week 6, where he was seeing 10 targets, 11 targets, even when he was getting the first 2 weeks of the season, 8 targets, 6 targets, there's just that general decrease where he dropped, it went 7, 4. They didn't play 6 by week 4. It's just down in general if we're talking trend lines. So especially with Judy coming back, another mouth to feed in that offense. I don't love it. But if we're thinking that if you are trying to tell the story of your bet card there, and you did go to that one with Bridgewater on the completions, I think it does make sense to then you're considering there would be additional looks for a guy like Fant. So maybe it makes sense to book those together in kind of an offbeat card if you're going in that direction. Yeah,
like you were saying, his snap share has been very interesting over the last 3 weeks because it's been kind of down. Like in the middle of the season, it's over 90% every game from week 3 all the way until week 7, but then we saw a dip to 78%, 76%. And then last week he was back up at 94%. So obviously if you're taking this, then your assumption is that hopefully he's above the 90% snap share, which would obviously make it a lot more likely that he hits that number.
All right. I see Carlos Manzo says rap is a genre that has begun in the early 80s. Actually was closer to the mid to late 70s. Sugar Hill Gang, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, etc. Came out of New York. Byproduct of the hip hop, the Beat Boys, the dancing, the tagging, and the various subway culture.
Look at this guy.
There we are. Ooh. Twisted Reality Gaming says, Twisted Reality Gaming says, watch Fant get 10 receptions tonight, and he's put down $5 on it.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate it, but
yeah,
it is. It is.
You want to put that on Prize Picks?
We got to clarify what that is.
Yeah, you got to put that on Prize Picks there. Oh, worst host ever. We have 2 minutes till lock. Worst Monday Night Football host ever, Dennis Miller. Absolutely. He was awful. And I like Dennis Miller. He was horrible.
That was such a strange experiment. Kind of inexplicable. Out there busting out the big vocabulary words, and then his co-host, who was it? Was it Fouts? Was the color man and Al Michaels? It would have been Al Michaels.
It would have been Al Michaels.
I think it was Dan Fouts was the other guy with him, and Fouts just was not having it. I'm sure he didn't, know half the words that Miller was throwing at him. He wasn't getting the obscure 18th century, Russian poetry references that
nobody was. That was the problem.
Well, they were for a very limited set of non-NFL fans. So, yeah, that was a really, really weird hire. And then Miller changed his politics and became a very different guy, and kept up he's still kind of the same guy comedy wise, but he became a really interesting guy after that. We also got $1 in the super chat from Bill W. I don't know if it's the Friends of Bill W group, but we appreciate you, whether you want to keep anonymous out there or not. I had to call that one out for $1. We appreciate every super chat that comes through. We appreciate everybody hanging out too. 243 likes though. A couple 400 of you guys forgot to hit that like button.
We're also approaching 69,000 subscribers.
Hey now.
Yes. Alex has said on the show this morning that he is going to do some sort of celebration when we hit 69,420. That would be 69,420.
Expect some whipped cream to be used in this.
Free lifetime subscription for our 69,420 subscribers.
Something along those lines. And then Lofty said we'd have to start deleting people because we could never exceed that number. That would be the greatest number.
Close down the channel at that point.
Yeah. All right, we are essentially up at lock. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm getting ready to go record the Slate Starter podcast with one Eric Lindquist. You guys can catch that on its new podcast channel. You can go to any of the podcast platforms out there and look for Slate Starter or Awesemo Slate Starter, and it will come up, and it's got a fun little new graphic on it. That is where all the NBA Slate Starter podcasts are going to be. We broke it out separately from the NBA channel. It will still be posted on our Awesemo main YouTube channel. We also have the Awesemo Odds channel that has its own shows, and we also have the Awesemo Fantasy Football show. That's where you can see a lot of Nick's work throughout the week, talking about different waiver wire pickups and other fun things. At this point in the season, you had a lot of good content on breaking down preseason drafts and best ball drafts and season-long managed leagues and all of that fun stuff. So we've got all sorts of content for you here, and we're starting off again tomorrow at 6:30. We have the Process show with Josh Engelman kicking things off. That is going to be super duper early. I guess technically you're going to get the Slate Starter tonight, but with that, you can follow Terry on Twitter at DigitalB21. Nick is at
Notorious FNTSY because fantasy doesn't fit on Twitter.
All right. And I am at EMACDFS. Of course, it is Awesemo_COM. With that, producer Jordan, let's fire up the pizza.